The queen was unable to provide an heir. Wise physicians were invited from distant regions, scholars studied ancient knowledge, and healers offered prayers passed down through generations. Time moved on, hope weakened, and the future of Orenfall rested on uncertainty. Until, against all odds, the queen conceived a child. The kingdom celebrated. When the royal child was born, bells echoed through the streets, and citizens gathered with anticipation. But celebration slowly faded when the attendants revealed unexpected news. The newborn prince was born with a physical difference. He had only one ear. The king's joy faltered. Although the child was healthy and strong, Alvaron's thoughts filled with concern. He feared how his son might be judged by others. To him, the challenge was not merely physical. It threatened the stability of the crown. That evening, the king summoned his council. Some urged patience. Others advised wisdom and restraint. But one counselor, Lord Virex, proposed an idea that would reshape the kingdom's future. If the heir is different, he said calmly, then difference itself must disappear. Let the people resemble the prince, so no one stands apart. The proposal spread quickly. Soon, a royal decree was announced. Every newborn in Orenfall would undergo a mandatory alteration at birth, described as a symbol of unity and loyalty to the realm. Families mourned in silence. Caregivers hesitated, but fear discouraged opposition. Years passed, then decades. Orenfall became a land where this alteration was seen as normal, and the idea of wholeness slowly faded into legend. Children grew up believing this tradition defined humanity. Those who questioned it were viewed as unsettling or disloyal, until one woman chose differently. In a remote village lived a woman named Elira, quiet, observant, and inwardly courageous. When she gave birth to a son, she saw immediately that he was untouched by the kingdom's custom. Fear filled her heart. She knew what awaited her child. That very night, Elira left the village and disappeared into the forest, raising her son far from the reach of tradition. She taught him truth instead of habit, understanding instead of fear. She named him Kalen. As he grew, Kalen asked questions few dared to speak. Why do people fear what is natural? Why is pain treated as loyalty? Who decides that harm should become normal? Elira shared with him forgotten knowledge, old illustrations of the human form, and stories of distant lands where people lived freely and whole. When Kalen reached adulthood, their refuge was discovered. Elira stood calmly before the guards and said, "You may silence me, but truth does not disappear." Kalen was taken to the capital. Before the high court, Kalen revealed himself. The room fell silent. 2 ears, whole, undeniably human. He spoke with steady resolve. You were taught that suffering meant unity, and obedience meant truth. But what you endured was born from fear, not destiny. The crowd reacted with confusion and emotion. Some shouted, some wept. Many touched the marks they had never questioned before. The aging king rose. You do not belong, he declared. Kalen answered calmly, I exist to remind. That night, unrest spread through the city. The unrest grew into a long period of internal conflict. Communities demanded answers. Families sought accountability. Even those tasked with enforcing tradition began to question it. Kalen became a symbol, not of rebellion, but of awareness. Elira paid the ultimate price for protecting truth. Her final words were remembered for generations. Do not change yourself just to belong. After years of struggle, the old decree was finally abolished. The throne stood empty. The tradition ended. Children were born freely once more. Yet the memory remained, in thought, in history, in conscience. Peace did not arrive easily. Many citizens felt lost without the rule they had known all their lives. Some longed for the certainty of old customs, while others feared freedom itself. In the north, a group formed calling themselves the Pure Order, insisting that tradition must return. They spread fear and misinformation, claiming the kingdom would collapse without enforced unity. Kalen faced opposition, but he did not respond with force. Across the land, mothers gathered quietly, sharing stories of loss and hope. They called themselves the Uncut Circle, determined to build a future based on choice, not fear. From the ruins of the old palace, Kalen spoke. A society does not heal by forgetting its wounds, but by understanding them. When the Pure Order marched toward the capital, another conflict seemed inevitable. But Kalen walked alone to meet them, unarmed, unafraid. You changed yourselves to belong, he said gently. I remained whole and was called dangerous. Ask yourselves, what truly defines humanity? The march ended without violence. That night, Orenfall chose reflection over repetition. Orenfall was not unique. History remembers many societies that mistook conformity for righteousness and fear for truth. Those who stood whole were often called strange. Yet truth always returns. And the lesson remains. Do not reshape yourself to fit a broken system. If you stand on truth, do not abandon it for approval. If others feel no shame in error, never feel shame in being right. Some societies lose freedom. Others lose wisdom. The most dangerous lose conscience. And those who speak truth, like Kalen, are often strangers among their own people. The fall of the old decree did not immediately heal Orenfall. Freedom arrived suddenly, like light after a long darkness, and many did not know how to face it. People who had lived their entire lives following strict rules now stood uncertain, unsure of who they were without them. The streets were calm, yet minds were restless. Kalen continued his journey across the land, refusing titles and honors. He believed leadership was not a throne, but a responsibility shared by all. Wherever he went, people gathered, not to praise him, but to ask questions they had never dared to ask before. What does unity mean now? How do we raise children without fear? How do we protect truth from becoming another rigid rule? In the eastern villages, Kalen encountered teachers who struggled to explain the past to a new generation. Children born whole asked innocent questions about the marks on their parents' heads. Silence often followed. To address this, Kalen helped establish houses of memory, open spaces where stories were told honestly, without blame or justification. Elders spoke of obedience. Mothers spoke of loss. Young people listened, learning that understanding the past was the only way to avoid repeating it. Not everyone welcomed this change. A group of influential merchants argued that remembering too much would weaken the kingdom. Stability requires forgetting, they claimed. They pushed for quick rebuilding, strict routines, and silence about old traditions. Kalen disagreed. Silence is not peace, he said. It is only delay. Tension grew, not through force, but through ideas. One evening, a young boy approached Kalen carrying a simple drawing. It showed two figures, one marked by tradition, the other standing whole. Between them was a bridge. My mother says the bridge is choice, the boy said. Kalen smiled. She is wise. Slowly, change took root. Schools taught critical thought instead of repetition. Families were encouraged to decide, not obey. Laws were rewritten to protect difference rather than erase it. Years passed. Orenfall became quieter, not because voices were silenced, but because they were heard. Disagreement remained, but fear no longer ruled it. The kingdom learned that harmony does not come from sameness, but from respect. When Kalen finally left Orenfall, no statues were built in his name. No festivals marked his departure. Instead, people remembered him in a simpler way. Whenever someone stood firm in truth despite pressure, whenever a child was taught to question without fear, whenever a society chose conscience over comfort, they remembered the man who walked away from power so others could learn to stand on their own. And so Orenfall endured, not as a perfect kingdom, but as a conscious one. Finally, don't forget to subscribe and press like. There are more interesting stories.